Not too long ago, I was watching an Arteezy replay where he popped off on Anti-Mage and really carried his team. In fact, his team was struggling. His cores did not have that much farm, and he really had to put his team on his back as Anti-Mage and basically have close to a flawless game. In fact, there's some really insane outplays, such as a counterspell on Doom in this game. So keep with me, I'm going to give you some tips and tricks how to become more like RTC Anti-Mage, and let's get into it. Also, if you're a fan of Arteezy and are excited to see how well he does in the future, like the video to help me out and obviously support him as well. On top of this video, I'll be making a monkey replay analysis soon for the main website. So I just played in a pub, I played monkey mid against a morphling. I was playing extremely aggressive, getting inside the enemy jungle, and really just experimenting with the new style of mid that I've been seeing from players like Chris Luck and Thompson for the past few months. So if you're interested in that content, go check out the main gameleap website in the description below. It's very cheap. I put out a lot of content there, basically a video every single day, whether it's from me or another top tier creator over on the website. So hopefully I'll see you there. And once again, it's just down in the description. So getting straight into the video, there's a couple things that I think really separate him in the laning stage. There's of course a million, and I really mean a million things, small things that he's doing correctly, but there's a couple big ones that I really want to point out to you guys. So in particular, the few things that he does well is Number one, he just builds the right items that allow him to actually compete against the Omni Knight properly throughout the entire laning stage. And B, right, he works with the Treant very well throughout the laning stage, right? These are the top two things that I really notice within this laning stage that most players do not do. They don't itemize according to the matchup, and they rarely ever work with their supports. From time to time, maybe like once or twice they will, but throughout this laning stage, in fact, they got first blood because of it, and I'll show it here. He's able to actually win his lane against the Omni Knight. So yeah, just to kind of show it off, literally right off the bat, and this is such a big deal to me because most people can't do this. Like, they don't even consider that early in the laning stage they can work with their support to just harass. It's literally to catch off guard the opponent, right? Catch them off guard, as we're going to see here, right? They, no joke, go on the Omni Knight. It didn't really work out too well. The Omni Knight sort of read it. Good movement from the Omni Knight. But that's just the little things that I love from players like this. Also, here he recognizes the Tiny was trying to secure the range creep and manages to get an insane amount of damage onto the Tiny. In fact, this ends up getting them first blood because of the amazing body blocks from the Treant. And yeah, if he didn't work to harass the Tiny early on and then work with his Treant to secure the kill, it wouldn't have worked out like that, and yeah, it's just a great play. Next up is the most important part of the lane in my opinion, besides obviously all the laning stuff. It's what he buys here, right? So you have a lot of options in terms of items on Anti-Mage. You could buy a wand, he could buy full treads, he could just literally rush a Demon Edge, he could rush a Ring of Health. He has a lot of options, right? But it really does matter. In this case, he actually buys an Orb of Venom because he knows that this lane is favorable considering the Tiny is going to roam, right? And he has a Treant backing him up, which is a very strong laner. And then following that up, he buys an extra set of Tangos, a Gloves of Haste, and a Wraith Band. And by far, this is the best items to actually trade with a hero like Omni Knight because it's going to give you some extra armor, plenty of attack speed, and consistently burn the Omni Knight's mana, as we're going to see here. Omni Knight basically will never have mana in this lane besides when he soul rings. And then once again, just some synergy here with the Treant to harass the Omni Knight. Don't end up getting the kill, but these little attempts are no joke what separates a Divine from an Immortal. So imagine if you do this at the Legend bracket or the Crusader bracket, you communicate with your supports just to make attempts. You don't have to kill them, you just have to make synergized attempts. You become on a next level. I'm not kidding, this is so important. So next up, I just want to talk about the time he actually TP's top. A lot of cores struggle with this, and I just want to give some outlying factors for why he actually does this. It's starting to get to the point in the lane where he actually can't deal with the Omni Knight. Omni Knight straight up just has way too much HP. The Treant also left, and not only that, the Lich actually TP's bottom here. You couldn't see it, right? You could see it because of the replay. But for all these reasons, it's a bad lane, right? His team is top. The Lich is obviously pressuring him out now, and there's nothing he can do. So him staying here would be a complete disaster. Instead, what he does is he TP's top. Can't actually use the Shrine anymore, so unfortunately, you'd have to ship out a salve in this case or ask your Abaddon for heals. But then he goes to farm the top lane, right? Not taking too much farm away from his Abaddon. Abaddon could TP bottom now and farm if needed. But actually, the Abaddon's going to play basically a support role for the actual Anti-Mage of this game. And now he's actually able to, with the help of his Puck and Abaddon, secure a kill onto the mid Doom, who is top net worth right now. In fact, Doom is top net worth by 1,000 gold. Why does that happen? Synergy with teammates, as I said, is a #1 indicator that you will go up in MMR. If you synergize consistently with teammates, it is just an attribute of a player that most people cannot do. The next thing that I really like is he starts cutting the waves. Guys, this is huge for me. I see carry players still not doing this. The reason why you want to catch the wave and then drag it away or even to a camp is 1, to amplify your farm, and 2, because then you can farm it in an open area, right? He doesn't have to farm it next to right here, right? If we'll go over, he doesn't have to farm it right here. Why is it super bad to do this? It's extremely easy to gank. There's like a million different ways you can come from. But if you're in this open area here, or even here with teammates, it's a lot safer. And that's exactly what we see here. He's just going to drag it to the small camp, amping up his farm a little bit, drag the next wave as well, bring that to the large camp, and really this is the best way to actually get your farm up as a carry right now. In addition, his item build lets him do this, right? The treads plus the wraith band plus the ring of health are the only way you can tank creeps and continue to farm like this as Anti-Mage. And this is sort of the pattern that goes on for the next 4 to 5 minutes until he gets his Battle Fury, and that's all you really need to know. Try to get to the top side so that you can drag waves, and you'll be a lot safer as a carry. So the next thing he does is ask for a Sentry Ward for his top jungle here, and this is huge for me because most people wouldn't even think to do this. It wouldn't even come into their head that they could get ganked. But if I'm the enemy team, where am I going to think that the enemy is farming? Either here or here. If you can't think that, well, you need to analyze more replays and really consider people's farming patterns, because he's not going to go bottom, right? The camps are unbelievably bad, right? He could farm these 3 camps and then technically rotate down to the Ancients, but then he's not even close to any creep waves, which is very awkward for an Anti-Mage, a hero that really wants to farm creep waves. So I like that he actually asked for a Sentry Ward to protect himself from a potential gank, as we're going to see coming up here. He's going to ask the Rubik to place it down, ends up passing it off, gets a ward. It's something that they probably also read earlier on, and this Sentry Ward comes into massive play later on as well. Probably by accident, but at the same time, I can't help but to imagine he actually reads that the Doom is going to buy a Shadow Blade at some point just to gank him, and as we'll see, Doom has a Shadow Blade queued up. In fact, coming up here is probably the most insane play of the entire match. I mean, just look at this. It's a great bait play, and he really plays off the Doom cast animation, right? So he knows that Doom is not an insta-cast ability, and therefore he waits a little bit to actually use the counterspell. As you can see, Doom is invis, right? It looks a bit weird because it's a replay, but Doom is invis, goes for the Doom animation. Even though he lost vision, he knows that Doom takes about 0.5 seconds to cast, gets the counterspell off, and gets Doom to Doom himself. And if you think like, oh, that's just because it's some low MMR Doom, it's no joke Armel, who I apparently have muted, probably because I didn't want his voice lines in some other recording. But it's Armel, right? TNC Armel, one of the best mid laners in the world. And that's really all because of the Sentry Ward. And yeah, now they're able to basically turn around the game. The Terrorblade actually denies the Doom. But things like that are so next level, where you actually read the fact that the Doom was going to get a Shadow Blade or even just gank you in that area. And as a result, he's able to get the counterspell off and keep himself alive. Not only that, kill the Doom. And at this point, I really like what he's doing, guys. Most people are so afraid to play on the enemy side of the map. As a carry player, you need to understand that this does 2 things. Not only does it prevent you from getting scouted out by wards, because most supports will ward the enemy side of the map, right? Assuming they want to go ganking, or if they're going to try to kill you, they're going to ward your jungle. So you're avoiding those wards, and you can naturally create pressure by 1, farming the camps that someone like Terrorblade or Doom want to farm, and 2, in this case, right, you can actually farm their creep waves if you feel like it's safe. And that's exactly what we see here, right? He goes behind the tower, farms the creep wave, and there is no downtime in between the camps. Camp to camp to camp to camp. If you don't do this as a flash farming hero, you won't get farmed. In fact, he even TPs mid here to stress that point. No downtime within farm, and that's just such a big deal if you're trying to become a carry player. And finally, he's actually even going to help with taking Roche because they have an Abaddon, right? This is just another thing where, guys, I know this isn't Anti-Mage specific, but this is like one of the most important points in Dota for literally anyone trying to get better. You have to, and I really mean you have to, look for Roche with your team. You have to. Otherwise, you're just passing up so much XP, so much gold, and Aegis, and not only that, if you feel like your team is in a good position to fight, which they might as they're 2k up right now and probably feeling pretty good, by Roshing, you're forcing the enemy team to fight you where? In an open area that you can ward, which naturally creates an advantageous fight. If you run down mid and push a tier 1 instead, you are fighting in the worst place in Dota. So why not get an objective like Roshan and force the enemy team to come to you? It's literally a win-win. And yeah, that's exactly what we see. They pick off the Omni Knight. So this does end up stalling out the Roche a little bit here. The enemy team gets into position to sort of deal with them, but this is probably the most important fight of the game. In fact, I'm not going to look too much at the late game, only because it really is, it's very random. I'll give a couple pointers here and there, but this is the most important fight that enables him to basically win the game for his team, at least in my opinion. So as we're going to start off, he's kiting around the edge. You notice how he doesn't run into the Terrorblade? He understands that this is a bad matchup for Anti-Mage within the early game. You simply don't do enough damage to man up to the Terrorblade. You have to wait for something like a stun to hit him. And that's exactly what we see here. Stun comes out, Terrorblade gets silenced, and he uses that opportunity of him getting silenced to jump in. If you play Anti-Mage and you walk in the front and you do not wait for disables, you will die. Your hero is super bad at team fighting in the early game. So please, wait to go in second or third, or wait for a disable, or look for someone overextending. Otherwise, you're gonna feed. And you can even see it goes so far where just because the Tiny comes in from the north, he's actually gonna reset again. Instead of continuing to hit this low HP Doom, he's gonna kite out to the right and go back in on this Lich here, right? It's just like one of those things where you have to be able to kite out and pay attention to every hero around you and disables and silences to know when your time is to go in. Okay, and to end off the video, I'm going to give my favorite play of the entire match. I did say that the other one is more important, but this is creativity, right? This is one of those plays where you have to play thousands and thousands of hours to Dota to even consider why it is good. So what we're going to see here, right, is he's pushing in top, he's staying in the trees to not give vision right away. Then he's obviously going to see them push in mid, so he's going to feel that it's safe to take the tower. No problem, right? Cuts the creep wave. This is effective map pressure. It's the best way on Anti-Mage to force a good fight. Yes, guys, you can actually split push when your team is alive. Split pushing is not reserved for when you have 4 heroes dead. Please, split push at all stages of the game. And now in this case, instead of actually hitting this tier 3 and just getting a little bit of damage, he's actually going to blink to this range frags, which is naturally going to force 2 TPs, right? You see how this works? Of course it's going to force TPs. The enemy team has no choice but to TP, obviously, right? And because of this, he's able to eventually catch out this Tiny. You notice how he instantly pings the Tiny and the Omni Knight? That's because this is what split pushing does. You get your enemies to TP back, you force the TPs, and then because you're an Anti-Mage with the 2.5 second blink cooldown, right? Oh, sorry, 3.5 seconds, my bad. 3.5 seconds and basically across the map blink, you can force this, and that's why they catch this Tiny, and really this is where the game starts to end for the enemy team. They get picked off and they get split up, and it's just only because he decided to push in top wave and then split up the map. The Lich gets caught out, they pick up another kill, and obviously this is going to snowball their advantage because now the Doom even comes in and he's like, oh, I can help. Then the Terrorblade comes in, he's like, oh, I can help. Then the Tiny buyback gets forced out. This is how you have to be as a carry player. You have to be creative and fast and learn how to split up the map. If you don't do this or never even consider it, you're not good enough to get to the Immortal bracket. And the reason I'm saying that is not to push you down. I'm saying it's possible. You just have to understand how moving the map works. And really, it's maybe not as complex as you think. It's really just get in the waves, force the TPs, and look for the stragglers. And really, this whole sequence is just so good, which is why I'm going to end the video on it. As you can see, after they kill the Lich, after they kill the Tiny, they force the buyback. He instantly does not feel like he has to keep on going. I see players do this all the time. They get a buyback or they get a pick off and they just literally run down mid. Stop! Understand that Roshan is by far the best objective for the mid to late game. It's not even close. Every single pro team agrees with this. Just watch any of their games. There are very minute situations where you actually will just run down mid after getting kills. It's basically if you can't Rosh, or if your team is so good at pushing. And so they bait the enemy team out. Once again, now they see this Tiny who does not have buyback. He actually bought a Divine Rapier on the Anti-Mage, which is pretty good against the actual Butterfly Evasion, 35% on the Terrorblade. And now, right, they bait the enemy team out. They're able to force a fight outside of the enemy base, and this is what Roshan does. Even though nothing instantly comes out of it, right, they're able to, as I said, force the fight outside of the base. This is what you're looking for in the mid game to late game that people don't get. I can't give you a perfect gameplay on how to play the mid and late game, but what I can say is the more you can force the enemy team outside of the base when you're ahead, the better. And how do you do that? You play slow, you take Rosh, and you try to bait them. These are the best ways, and thank you guys for watching as you're going to see him force a Tiny buyback. Are you tired of being hard stuck at your rank? Over at gameleap.com, we have a library of hundreds of guides authored by pro players and coaches covering literally every aspect of Dota. Whether you're looking to master a new hero or role, or just polish up your existing skills, GameLeap is the proven place for competitive gamers to hone their craft and unlock their secret potential. Hit the link on screen right now, to take advantage of our special offer for a 25% discount, guys. 25%, and start your journey today.